Hey everybody, if you haven't met me, my name is Bryce and I'm the office manager of NUTV. Today I'm going to be taking you through a super basic Premiere Pro tutorial. This is going to be great if you are transitioning from another editing program or if you've never edited in Premiere before. So that being said, let's get started. Before we get into the program itself, I want to talk about some things that are going to set you up for success once you are editing. Namely, you want to be organized. So one of the places that people go wrong the most is they throw all of their clips into one big folder, and then when they lose something later or they can't find a file, it's really hard for them to find everything. So one of the things I like to do is I like to make a folder just for my Premiere Pro files. Basically, anytime you save a project file somewhere, it will create a couple of folders along with your save file for autosaves and stuff like that. So I just like to throw that in its own folder so that anytime I need to find an autosave or I need to know where the project file is, I know exactly where to go. The other thing I like to do is put all of my video, audio, music, etc. in a media folder. So that will just have like video, music, audio, stills, whatever you have for your project. One thing you can do if you don't want to make 5 folders or whatever every time you start a new project is you can just save a file called Premiere Pro template, and then anytime you go to start a new project, you just copy paste that and rename it. You know, we're going to call this Premiere Tutorial. And now in there, we have all of those subfolders already set up for us. The other thing I want to talk about is a lot of times people underestimate how hard video editing is on your computer. So it's one of the hardest things you can ask your computer to do. So you really want to make sure the only thing you're trying to do on your computer is run Premiere. So the biggest thing for me most of the time is I'll have like a million Chrome tabs open. If you see, I have a ridiculous amount of RAM being used just by Chrome. So what you can do is you can just right click here, End Task. Next time you open up Google Chrome, it'll say Chrome didn't shut down correctly, would you like to restore? And then it'll open up all your tabs for you again, and you don't have to go through and, you know, bookmark everything. Now that we've got all our folders set up and we've closed some programs to reduce the load on our system, we're ready to start getting our media imported. So one thing you want to make sure you never do is leave the files on the SD card plugged into your computer as you're editing. The SD card isn't really fast enough to do that. It's a huge amount of wear and tear on the SD card. And also, if you ever pull the SD card out, now where'd your video files go? You don't know. So you want to make sure that you copy all of your files into the folders that we set up. So I'm going to drag these into video, and I got some music here. I'm going to drag into music. And then I always like to make sure that I actually have the SD card ejected before I start editing, just to make 100% sure there's no chance that I'm accidentally editing off the SD card. All right, all those files finished copying, so now we're ready to get into Premiere. So here we are in Premiere. This is the splash screen that you'll land on when the program finishes opening up. So you just want to click New Project. And that'll bring up this new project window. So you're going to want to first pick where you want to save it. We saved ours on the desktop, that Premiere Tutorial, Premiere Profiles, save. And then we're going to name this Premiere Tutorial. All right. As far as the settings on this screen, don't really need to worry about video, audio, capture, any of these. The one thing you want to check is this renderer button. So if you're on a PC and you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you're going to want to make sure this is CUDA. And then if you're on a Mac or on a Windows machine with an AMD graphics card, you're going to want to make sure it says Metal. And if you don't have the option of Metal, you're going to want to select OpenCL. As long as you have those settings selected, you're going to have the best possible playback performance and editing performance in Premiere. It's a little technical. You don't need to know what it means. Just make sure those are the settings you're using. And now that we have our name, our save location, and we've checked our renderer, we are good to go and click OK to set up our project. All right, so when you open it up, there's going to be a lot of stuff on screen, but there's a lot of different windows that you can use to edit. So all of these up here at the top are called Workspaces, and there are a lot of them that are in here by default. Learning, assembly, editing, color, effects, audio, graphics, libraries, all panels, and meta logging. Those should all be in there by default. I have some custom ones over here. You don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure editing is on its saved layout. Okay, cool. So one of the common problems that happens is you're in here clicking on all these different things and you accidentally close one. And you're like, oh, how do I get that back? There's two ways. The first way to get something back that you've accidentally closed is to just go up here to where you're in the editing option, click the little 3 bars and click reset to saved layout. And that will reset it to how it is, in Premiere by default, and we'll make sure you have all of your different windows and controls and stuff like that. So now that we're in Premiere, it's time for us to start importing media. So there's 2 ways to import your media. You can either double click in the media pool here and navigate to wherever your clips are. So ours are like on the desktop, Premiere tutorial, media. But if you import it this way, it will just dump them into the bin. And one of the advantages that we have is that we already went through and organized everything. So the other thing you can do is you can just open up your project folder in Finder or in Explorer, and you can just drag your media folder into the project bin. It'll pop up importing files, and it'll take a second. But once this is done, you'll see that we have this folder here that says media, and it has our video in it, and it has the audio, and everything's already pretty sorted for us. But as we can see here, the audio didn't import in the music folder. So if we want to add a folder for that, you can either hit Control B on a PC or Command B on a Mac. So if you hit Control B, that'll make a new bin. And a bin is like a folder in Premiere. It doesn't create any folders on your system, but it just allows you to organize things in your media pool, basically. So I'm going to call this music. And I can just drag that into the media bin, and I can drag my music into the music bin. And now we're all set. So the other thing you can see here is that all of these bins are the same color. And one of the things that can be nice if you're trying to look at all the different media you have at a glance and know what things are is to color code things. So let's say we wanted to make our music a different color. Like right here, we can just right click our music bin, go to label, and we can make it the same color as the music. Same for the video here. So if we look, video is Iris. They have strange names for the colors, but you'll get used to it. Iris. So now our video bin is the same color as its contents, and same with the music. But the other thing you can do is go even further with this, and you can say, all right, I know 28, 20, and 29 are from the same scene. So you can go in and you can make these purple, and you can make 57 and 62 green. And that's just another way for you to stay organized and know what you're looking at a glance. The other really nice thing is when you drag these into the timeline, which we'll get to in a second, those colors will actually be reflected in the timeline in regards to like what color the clips are. So now that we have our media imported and that we have it organized, we're all set up to start editing. But how do we start editing? We need to make a timeline to put all the clips in. So we can come down here to this little page icon, and that's the new item menu. So in here, there's a lot of different stuff, but what we're looking for is a new sequence. That's how we make a timeline. It's a sequence of clips. So we click new sequence and it pops up this window. The problem with this is it's pretty confusing. There's a lot of things going on, like what is this? What's RE? What is AVCHD? I don't know what kilohertz is. Like it's weird, right? So one of the things that we can do, we can actually grab our clip and we can drag it down, and if we release it over that new item icon, it will make a new sequence with that new clip in it and all of the settings for that new clip to work properly. And now we can drag in the rest of our clips. So we can just grab this. I know this keyboard's covering the preview window, but what the video isn't really important right now. But you can also see this thing right here with the little bars icon. So that's our sequence that we made. So what I like to do, because you can have multiple of these in a project, is I like to make a new bin just for sequences. And we can drag this out here and put our sequence in there, and that is all set. And just for good measure, sequences are forest, and we can come up here, sequences, forest. Perfect. All right, staying organized. So now that we have our sequence made and we have our clips all organized, we're ready to start editing. So I'm actually going to delete these out of here for a second just to show you the different ways to get clips into the timeline. So right now we're in the assembly workspace, which can be really good because it shows you all of your media. There's a lot of space for it. You have a timeline down here to just sort of like start piecing things together. And you have a monitor that you can review your footage on. One of the ways to get clips into the timeline is using the source monitor. And the way you get to the source monitor is you just start going through your media here and you like double click on the first clip, for example. Okay, so that's going to show us our first clip. And what we can do now is we can start dragging through and seeing what it is. And the reason they call this the source monitor is because if you're in one of the normal like editing workspaces, you'll have the source monitor or the preview monitor and the program monitor. And you can look at clips while also looking at your timeline on the program monitor over here. So what you can do with the source monitor is you can say, all right, I want to use this clip from here to here. And the way you do that is you press I and O, in and out. So you say, I want to start here and I want to end here. And then you can just click on the video and drag it down to your timeline and it'll pull in that clip trimmed to your in and your out points, which is really convenient. And now we can see, we can look at our clip over here to see if there's another place we want to use it. We want to use it from there to there. And now we can come over here and on the program monitor, we can see that whole thing we just made together. The other way to trim clips is to just drag the whole thing into the timeline. And then you can just play through it like this. And you can just drag it from the ends here. But let's say, it's like, okay, well, that was a pretty big adjustment. Like, how do I see what I'm doing? So there's a couple ways to zoom in and out on the timeline. One way is to drag this slider here. So this is zooming in and out, and then you can scroll back and forth like this. The other way is you can scroll back and forth with your scroll wheel and scroll in and out by holding Alt and then scrolling, or Option on a Mac. And that will zoom you in and out as well. And then you can see like, okay, I want to go from here, and then this is all good. And oh, okay, he jumped out, so I'm going to end it right there. And now you can drag the clip over to here. Or you can be like, okay, well, that's a big empty space. You can just right click in the empty space or option click on a Mac and ripple delete, and that will just delete the empty space between the two clips. All right, great. So let's say you want to insert a cut in the middle of a clip. One of the ways is to come over here and click the blade tool, come over here, click right there, and boom, you've added an edit. But the other way to do that, because you don't want to be going back and forth clicking all the time, that's a lot of extra clicks, you can just press C to pull up the blade tool and V to get your mouse back. C, blade, cut, V, mouse, move. Bada bing, bada boom. If you want to watch back what you've already assembled in your timeline, is you can press spacebar and that'll just play and pause. But the other thing you can do, and the way I prefer, is using J, K, and L. So L will play forward, K will stop, and J will play backwards. And that way you can, really look at different moments and edits and scenes. And the other thing that's nice is, let's say you want to watch through it quickly just to see if there's anything glaringly obvious that you messed up. Press L twice, and now it's playing back at 2 times speed. Press L 3 times, 4 times speed, etc. Same works for backwards. Pretty neat. So now that you got some work done, I always recommend Control S, save. Do that a lot. Premiere Pro is not the most stable program, especially after updates, so I recommend that you save early and save often. Control S, becomes second nature after a while, and that way you never lose too much work if the program crashes. Now, let's say, you want to hear the sound of this deer walking across the meadow a little bit more clearly. So you can double click over here on this empty space, and that will make this audio track larger. And what that allows you to do is click this little bar right here, and you can pull boost the audio up or pull the audio down, just like that. But let's say I wanted to delete the audio entirely and just put music underneath it or replace it with a sound effect, something like that. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can either hold Alt and click, and that will select just the audio, and then you can delete just the audio. Or you can right-click and click Unlink, and that way the audio and the video won't be linked anymore, and you can just delete the audio. Other thing, just like most programs, Control-Z is undo, Control-Shift-Z is redo. Another thing, since you can have multiple sequences in one project, I recommend that you rename your sequences. So this one is our main assembly sequence, so I'm just going to call it assembly. Or you can call it main, general, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now you've set up your project, you've imported your media, you've brought some clips into the timeline, and you've dragged them around and cut them and edited them in the way that tells the story that you want to tell. Congratulations. That's the editing. So now it's time to export your video. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can either make sure that your timeline is highlighted and then go up to File, Export, Media, or you can see right there it just says Control M. So you can just highlight your timeline and hit Control M on a PC, Command M on a Mac, and it will pop up the Export Settings window. So first things first, you're going to want to click Format. For exporting to YouTube, you're going to want to choose H.264. And the simplest way is to just choose the YouTube preset. So this is some 4K footage. This isn't my favorite way to do it, but it's fine, especially just for YouTube. So now we've selected our format, we've selected our preset, but where's it going to go? So we're going to click this blue text right here where it says assembly. That's the name of our sequence. And we're just going to click on that, and it's going to ask us where we want to save it. So I like to go back to the folder I originally made, and you can either put it in the root of the folder. I typically like to make a little exports folder because especially on bigger videos or bigger projects, you'll find you end up exporting a few times. So exports, and then we can just name it your video. Congratulations. All right, so that's all set. Like I said, this preset is just fine for YouTube. The only things that I like to change are use maximum render quality and render at maximum depth because I worked hard on this video and I want it to look as good as possible. So now that we have set our format to H.264, we've set our preset to the YouTube preset, and we've said render at maximum depth and use maximum render quality, you can just click Export. And that's going to start the export process. And this is a pretty short collection of clips, so it'll go fast. And as soon as this is done, you are all ready to upload your video. Congratulations on finishing your first project. Make sure to watch the clip back once it's exported to make sure it looks all right, because some weird things can happen there. And exports. Here it is. Looks good. Congratulations. Good job. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask. There are always people that are willing to help you, and a lot of people know how to use Premiere. And good luck on your first video. Hope you have fun. One more thing, definitely recorded this on the same day as the other one. If you want a little bit more in-depth tutorial with a few more advanced techniques, but a little less polished, I'm going to be doing an uncut screen recording and face cam of me editing this video. So it's a little meta, but it works. And that video is going to be linked in the description below. So hope you check that out too, and I hope you have fun editing in Premiere.